First game, Saturday afternoon, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. Again, not really the playoff game I was expecting to have this weekend coming into the season, or frankly, in the middle of the season or late in the season. But here we are, the Bengals and the Titans. Tennessee right now is at 3.5-point favorite at home. Obviously, the rested 1 seed total is at 47.5. So both of these teams, not, the advanced metrics. We've talked about it all year long. Neither one of these teams is a juggernaut, to say the least. They both are basically very average teams by DVOA and by a lot of the metrics. So what do you do when you got two very average teams playing against each other here?
Well, look, they're average, but I think both of them have skill sets or things that they do that make them elite in certain areas. Obviously, people are going to look to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and see, they're dominant in passing. Obviously, the Bengals are 9th in drop back EPA per play. They're also top 10 in passing success rate. So a lot of the public is going to look at that and see this is the sexy team which can pull the upset. But when you look at this line, it opened up Titans -2.5, and this has been pushed all the way up to Titans -3.5 for a good reason. What is your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I expected, we talked about this on Sunday, and I thought this looked like it would be a pros versus Joes game. Normally, I often end up on the Joes side of that argument, but I'm on the pros side here. I grabbed Tennessee early at the 2.5. I like the Titans. I don't love the Titans just because I don't super trust either team in this matchup. So I don't want to go too hard on this game just because when neither team is really an elite team, I just don't know. I don't know what to expect from Tannehill. I don't know what we're going to get from Joe Burrow. Not his first playoff start, but first road playoff start, and that's a totally different thing. These teams, though, they look similar, but I think it's important to remember that the profile for Tennessee is not really accurate to the team that we're getting from Tennessee here. It certainly looks like Derrick Henry is going to go. We don't really know what version of Derrick Henry, but even if it's 90% of Derrick Henry or 80% of him, still a lot of Derrick Henry. And we've talked a lot about that's not just getting the running back, it's getting your identity back. It's getting who you are as a team. And to me, the advantage in this game on both sides of the ball is the Titans in the trenches. The Bengals lost their Larry Ogunjobi, who's their stud run stuffer. And that's a big deal. You don't want to lose your big run stuffer, your Vita Vea right before playing Derrick Henry. And Trey Hendrickson, it does look like he'll play, so that's good for the Bengals, but we'll see how much. We'll see how limited he is, and he's really their pass rush. So I like the matchup for the Titans blocking, and the Bengals O-line hasn't been good this year. Joe Burrow had a franchise record sacks this season, and the Titans pass rush had been great early, kind of slowed late in the year, but I think could be rejuvenated with this week off. So to me, just looking at playoff football, run the ball, win in the trenches, that's a spot where the Titans really have an advantage.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. The Larry Ogunjobi injury is going to be big. Look, this Bengals defense was just 13th in rushing DVOA. They were 14th in rushing success rate and 15th in rushing EPA per play. So they're not going to be able to stop this Titans run defense. And I think that opens up the play action for the Titans. And when you can open up the play action and you can get AJ Brown and Julio Jones going, and these guys have had time to rest, you're in a good position. And I think the Titans offense should be able to do what they have to do. And I also think you can put the Bengals into that negative game script where I think you're going to see a higher scoring game. This total's at 47. To me, I think it's way too low. I'm looking to go over here, but I do like the Titans. I think once you start getting up to the 3.5, it's a little scary. And when you look at some of these divisional trends, it's pretty rough because divisional favorites are actually 39-20 since 2004. That's 66.1%. However, against the spread, they're just 26-30 and 34. That's 43%. So these favorites are covering. I mean, these favorites are winning, but they're not necessarily covering. And 18 out of the 34 dogs who have covered in this round has also won the game outright. So it's pretty rough with this line going up past the 3. But I do think the matchup lends itself towards the Titans actually getting this done. there's some negative trends when it comes to Vrabel. I think he's just 15-20-1 as a favorite, but I just think all the trends point towards the Titans winning this game.
Yeah, those trends are offset a little bit by Vrabel and Tannehill. Both are very good with extra rest, extra prep time. So that's one advantage here. I think Zach Taylor, to me, is pretty clearly the worst coach left of the 8 head coaches in the playoffs. So that would be a real disadvantage for the Bengals anytime going forward. You mentioned, too, those division round trends. If you isolate just the 1 seed, so since 2003, just one season division round, 13, 23, and 1 against the spread. So 34% cover, not feeling good. However, like you said, to me, that half point right now is a really big deal. And I'm kind of waiting I like the Titans here, but I like it a lot better at 3 or at 2.5. That's why I grabbed the 2.5 early. I think we might get there still. I think that the Bengals are going to be a public dog and that we're going to get a lot of bets in. We'll see. Maybe the money will keep coming on Tennessee and keep it above the 3. If it gets to 3 or shorter, 1 seeds who are 3-point favorites or shorter are just 2 and 3 against the spread. So it's still not great, but it's not as bad as that other trend. Yeah, the other trend, it's most of those lines where they're not covering are these 7, 8, 9, 10-point favorites. And, we've gotten a little too smart for that. And I think the books are adjusting these lines down a little bit. So I'm not so worried about that. I agree, though, with the negative script for the Bengals. Here's one thing that I like a lot is I'm playing the Titans first quarter. Titans -1 first quarter. It's at plus 100. So a couple numbers. The Bengals are 29th in DVOA in the first quarter. They've been a very slow starting team. And the Bengals defense ranks 31st on first down. So that is a really bad matchup against the Titans, where the whole thing the Titans want to do is keep the pressure off Tannehill by handing it off and getting these 4, 5, 6-yard runs on first down and get in the positive script all game long. 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5. The Bengals defense has been allowing that all year. So I think you've got a rested Titans team. They've got their stars back healthy. AJ Brown and Julio Jones, they needed the time off. Another thing too is that the home game matters here. Like, we know the home field isn't what it once was, but the Bengals are 9th in DVOA in Cincinnati, 25th in DVOA on the road. The Titans defense, 17th on the road, 7th at home. So for both of these teams, like you said, they do have their strengths, but where there are flawed teams, the little things matter a little bit more. So the home field matters a little bit more. The first down defense matters more. I think there's a lot of situational stuff that's going to put Cincinnati behind the 8 ball early and give Tennessee a leg up. I want the 3 though. I like the Titans -3.5, but I'm going to wait and try to get it 3 or lower. That's why I like the Titans first quarter to jump out and get a lead and then just kind of play from the front.
Yeah, I like that. And I think you can actually extend that to the whole first half, because the Titans actually have the 5th best scoring margin in the first half at plus 60. The Cincinnati Bengals are 16th at plus 5. So I think that extends far past the first quarter. Like you said, the Bengals are a slow starting team. One thing I will add is that the Bengals' opposing schedule of pass defense has not been good. It's probably been the easiest in the NFL. And I think the Titans are going to find some real success in the passing game. So, I'm looking at this being a shootout. When you look at last week's game against the Raiders, both teams drove up and down the field at will, but they only kicked field goals. So I just think you're getting a shorter number based on what we saw last week. And I just don't think that's necessarily fair. When you got a banged up Trey Hendrickson, you got no Larry Ogunjobi, the Titans are going to put up some points. And we know that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can't really be slowed down. So I like this game to go over. I think that's the play right now at the current numbers. If this gets below 3 or at 3, I think you can play the Titans, but I can't touch it with the 3.5.
I'm a little hesitant to join you on the over just because I expect a lot of running in this game. And so I think that's going to shorten the game a little bit. We're going to talk about some other games. We're going to see a lot of passing this weekend. This is not one of those. I think these are coaches who are going to protect their quarterbacks. The Bengals are going to protect Burrow on the road. The Bengals, too, one thing I don't like about them, we've talked about this, they stay overcommitted to the run game. The Titans defense is good, and especially the run defense has been really strong down the stretch. Last week against the Raiders, who are a terrible secondary, the Bengals ran on early down 21 times. They only had 19% success rate, negative 0.23 EPA per play. So all season long until week 16 and 17, the Bengals keep feeding Mixon. He's getting yards, but it's not efficient. But I think they're going to feed him. We know the Titans are going to run the ball. So I'm a little nervous to go over just because I think we could get these long drives and chewing clock. I'd feel better, I think, about a Titans team over than the game over. I feel pretty good about the Titans getting their points. I'm not so sure about the Bengals. I could see a version of this game where the Titans get that early lead and then just kind of do Titans football and chew up the clock, and Henry gets going, Dante Foreman gets going, and maybe the Bengals just don't quite show up on the road for this one. But I don't know. It's an interesting game. Certainly, I feel like whoever wins this one is probably going to be the underdog the next game out. So I'm intrigued to see who goes forward in this one.
Yeah, I am as well.